Marcus understood something profound about human nature, that among the crowds of ordinary people living their lives, there exist individuals whose entire approach to relationships is fundamentally predatory. They don't simply make mistakes or act selfishly on occasion. They systematically exploit, manipulate, and drain others as a way of life. The Stoics called these people enemies of virtue. Today, we might use terms like narcissists, sociopaths, or toxic personalities. But labels matter less than recognition. What matters is that you can identify these individuals before they infiltrate your life, compromise your peace, and drain your vitality. This isn't about judgment or condemnation. The Stoics taught radical acceptance of reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Some people are manipulative. This is a fact of existence, as reliable as gravity. Your task isn't to fix them, save them, or convince yourself they're not what they clearly are. Your task is to recognize them and protect yourself accordingly. A critical warning before we begin. What you're about to learn may disturb you. You may recognize these patterns in people currently in your life, perhaps even people you love or trust. This recognition will be uncomfortable. The Stoics understood that truth often produces initial discomfort before it produces freedom. As Epictetus warned his students, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. In other words, it's better to appear naive while you're learning than to remain actually vulnerable because you refuse to see reality. Pay attention. Take notes mentally. But remember, the ultimate goal isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. It's the ability to navigate human relationships with clear sight, appropriate boundaries, and stoic equanimity. Let's unveil the 5 most manipulative personalities you'll encounter, understand their tactics through stoic wisdom, and learn how to protect yourself while maintaining your own virtue. Type 1. The charming predator, the narcissist. The Stoic understanding of false charisma. Seneca once wrote about a senator who dazzled everyone with his eloquence, generosity, and charm, only to leave a trail of destroyed lives behind him. Seneca observed, "He who is everywhere admired is never truly known. The mask he wears is more real to others than his actual face." This describes the charming predator perfectly. They are masters of first impressions, experts at creating instant connection, and skilled at making you feel like you found someone extraordinary. But beneath the glittering surface lies something cold, calculating, and fundamentally empty. Recognizing the charming predator, the love-bombing phase. When you first meet this person, the intensity is intoxicating. They shower you with attention, compliments, and affection. They mirror your interests perfectly. They seem to understand you like no one else ever has. You feel chosen, special, elevated. The Stoics would immediately recognize this as suspect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Authentic connection builds gradually. Instant, overwhelming bonding is a performance, one designed to lower your defenses and create premature intimacy. The mask of superiority. Despite their charm, you'll notice they constantly establish hierarchy. Their stories always position them as exceptional, more intelligent, more attractive, more accomplished, more victimized, or more special than others. They name-drop, exaggerate achievements, and subtly, or not so subtly, compare themselves favorably to everyone around them. Epictetus taught that truly confident people don't need to constantly assert their superiority. The charming predator's endless self-promotion reveals a paradox: grandiosity masking profound insecurity. The empathy deficit. Here's the critical tell. Watch what happens when you're genuinely struggling. At first, they may perform sympathy convincingly, but observe more carefully. Do they actually demonstrate understanding of your emotional experience? Or do they quickly redirect attention to themselves, minimize your feelings, or become irritated by your needs? The Stoics believe that genuine human connection requires recognizing our shared vulnerability. The charming predator cannot do this because they view themselves as fundamentally different from and superior to everyone else. The devaluation cycle. Once they've secured your trust, investment, or commitment, the mask begins to slip. The person who idealized you begins to criticize. They find flaws that weren't problems during the love-bombing phase. They become cold, distant, or contemptuous. You find yourself desperately trying to recapture that initial magic, not realizing it was never real. This cycle, idealization, devaluation, discard, is the charming predator's signature pattern. They repeat it with everyone, eventually. The lack of genuine growth. The Stoics emphasized constant self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius filled his journals with self-criticism and resolutions to do better. The charming predator never genuinely reflects, never truly takes responsibility, never actually grows. They may perform the language of growth and self-awareness, but watch their actual behavior over time. It never fundamentally changes. Stoic defense strategy. Slow down connection. The antidote to love bombing is patience. Authentic relationships develop over time. Insist on a natural pace. If someone tries to rush intimacy, trust your discomfort. Verify through time and stress. The Stoics taught that character reveals itself under pressure. Before trusting deeply, observe how this person handles frustration, disappointment, and your own normal human needs. Charm under ideal conditions proves nothing. Maintain self-sovereignty. Don't allow anyone to become your sole source of validation, happiness, or identity. The Stoics emphasized self-sufficiency not as isolation, but as healthy autonomy. When you depend entirely on someone for your sense of worth, you become vulnerable to their manipulation. Remember, you cannot fix this person. This is crucial. The charming predator's issues are deep, structural, and beyond your influence. Your love, understanding, and sacrifice will not heal them. Accepting this reality is difficult, but necessary. Type 2, the victim manipulator, the martyr complex. The Stoic view on false victimhood. Epictetus distinguished between genuine misfortune and the performance of suffering. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Some people experience real hardship and respond with resilience and growth. Others, the victim manipulator, collect grievances like trophies and wield their suffering as a weapon. Marcus Aurelius noted, "Observe carefully. Is this person truly suffering or merely performing suffering for an audience?" This distinction is everything when identifying the victim manipulator. Identifying the victim manipulator. The perpetual crisis. This person always has a crisis, demanding immediate attention. Their life is an endless series of emergencies, betrayals, injustices, and catastrophes. Remarkably, they're never responsible for any of it. Everything bad that happens to them is caused by others: cruel bosses, ungrateful friends, toxic family members, or an unfair world. The Stoics understood that while misfortune strikes everyone, those committed to virtue take responsibility for their responses. The victim manipulator takes responsibility for nothing. Strategic helplessness. Watch carefully. This person is mysteriously incapable of solving problems that would reduce their need for others. They can't figure out basic life tasks. They're overwhelmed by situations that others navigate routinely. Yet somehow, they possess remarkable competence in manipulating others to rescue them. Seneca observed that some people prefer being helped to being independent, because dependency gives them power over the helper. The victim manipulator has mastered this dark art. Guilt as currency. This is their primary weapon. They make you feel guilty for having boundaries, for being happy when they're suffering, for not sacrificing enough, for suggesting they take responsibility. They weaponize your compassion, turning your virtue against you. They'll say things like, "After everything I've done for you," or "I guess I'll just handle this alone like I always do," or "You don't understand what I'm going through." These statements are carefully crafted to trigger guilt and compliance. The rejection of solutions. Here's the test. Offer practical solutions to their problems. Watch what happens. The victim manipulator will explain why every solution won't work, will resist every form of help that would actually resolve the situation, and will become angry if you persist. Why? Because they don't want solutions. They want endless attention, sympathy, and control. As Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The victim manipulator explains endlessly, but embodies nothing. They talk about wanting change, while systematically avoiding it. The competition of suffering. If you share your own struggles, the victim manipulator will either minimize them or immediately redirect to their own, which are always worse. You cannot win the suffering Olympics with this person, and they don't want you to try. Your role is audience, not fellow human with your own experiences. The selective memory. They remember every slight against them in perfect detail, but their own hurtful behaviors? Forgotten, minimized, or reframed as justified reactions to others' provocations. This asymmetry in memory is a tool of manipulation. Stoic protection protocols distinguish genuine need from manipulation. The Stoics advocated helping those truly in need. The question is, does your help actually help, or does it perpetuate dysfunction? If your assistance never leads to improvement, you're not helping. You're enabling manipulation. Maintain emotional boundaries. You can feel compassion without taking responsibility for others' emotions. As Marcus Aurelius noted, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Their suffering, real or performed, is not your burden to carry indefinitely. Refuse the guilt. When someone tries to manipulate you through guilt, remember Epictetus. If someone tries to provoke you to anger, know that it's actually your own opinion that provokes you. Their guilt trips only work if you accept the guilt. You don't have to. Set clear limits and accept their reaction. The victim manipulator will punish you for boundaries with increased displays of suffering, withdrawal of affection, or accusations of cruelty. The Stoic accepts this as the price of maintaining integrity. Their displeasure is not evidence you've done wrong. Type 3. The covert controller, the passive-aggressive saboteur. The Stoic insight on hidden aggression. Marcus Aurelius warned against those who smile while they undermine, who agree while they sabotage, who support while they subvert. This is the covert controller, someone whose aggression never appears openly, but whose impact is systematically destructive. The Stoics valued directness. Seneca wrote, "Let us say what we feel, and feel what we say. Let speech harmonize with life." The covert controller's entire approach violates this principle. They create a gap between appearance and reality, between words and actions, between their pleasant surface and their destructive impact. Detecting the covert controller. The agreement that isn't. This person says yes but means no. They commit to things, then forget, or find reasons why they couldn't follow through. They volunteer for tasks, then do them poorly or late. They promise support, then somehow never deliver. The key pattern: their compliance is verbal only. Their actual behavior consistently contradicts their stated agreement. As Epictetus taught, don't be deceived by appearances. Watch what people do, not what they say. The compliment with poison. The covert controller has mastered the art of the backhanded compliment. You're so confident, I could never be that bold about my flaws. That dress is perfect for you. Not everyone can pull off that style. I admire how you don't let your lack of experience hold you back. Each statement sounds supportive, but carries an embedded insult. This keeps you off balance, unsure whether to feel appreciated or insulted, grateful or hurt. The strategic incompetence. When forced to help with something they don't want to do, the covert controller doesn't refuse directly. Instead, they do it so poorly, so slowly, or with such evident martyrdom that you'd rather do it yourself. This is intentional. They've learned that strategic incompetence is more effective than direct refusal. The silent treatment and sulking. Rather than expressing anger directly, they withdraw, become icy, or radiate disapproval without explanation. This forces you into the position of detective and supplicant, trying to figure out what you did wrong and how to appease them. This is a control mechanism. Marcus Aurelius noted, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The covert controller's method is to punish you while maintaining plausible deniability. They're not angry, you're just sensitive. They're not punishing you, you're imagining things. The subtle undermining. In groups, they subtly undercut your credibility. Share your confidences as concerns. Damn with faint praise, or conveniently forget to include you in important communications. If confronted, they're shocked you could think such things. It was an oversight, a misunderstanding, your paranoia, the perpetual victim of your sensitivity. When you finally address their behavior, the covert controller has a reliable defense. You're too sensitive, too dramatic, too demanding. They transform every confrontation into evidence of your unreasonableness. You find yourself apologizing for having addressed their harmful behavior. Stoic countermeasures. Trust your experience over their words. If you consistently feel confused, frustrated, or undermined around someone, trust that reality. Don't let their reasonable words override your concrete experience. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the several quality of a thing, nor its worth escape you. Demand directness." The covert controller thrives in ambiguity. Insist on clear, direct communication. Are you agreeing to do this, yes or no? Are you upset with me? Tell me directly. Say clearly what you mean. This disrupts their preferred method of operation. Document patterns. Because each individual instance seems small or deniable, the covert controller relies on you forgetting or doubting the pattern. Keep notes, track agreements, and follow through. When you see the pattern clearly documented, you won't gaslight yourself. Name the behavior explicitly. When you agree to things, then don't follow through. It creates problems. That comment felt like a criticism disguised as a compliment. Naming the behavior directly, without anger but with clarity, disrupts their strategy. Accept their comfort with your discomfort. The covert controller is perfectly comfortable with your confusion and pain. Accepting this reality allows you to stop trying to make them understand or care. As Epictetus taught, don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This includes accepting that some people won't change. Type 4. The boundary bulldozer, the entitled invader. The Stoic philosophy of proper limits. Epictetus taught extensively about the dichotomy of control, distinguishing what is ours to control and what belongs to others. The boundary bulldozer fundamentally rejects this wisdom. In their worldview, nothing is off limits to them. Your time, resources, emotional energy, privacy, and autonomy are all available for their use. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. The boundary bulldozer cannot do this with your life. They intrude into your past, present, and future, demanding access to everything while offering respect for nothing." Recognizing the boundary bulldozer, the incremental invasion. This person doesn't crash through all your boundaries at once. They push incrementally, testing your resistance. First, they drop by unannounced, just this once. Then it becomes frequent. They borrow something small, then something larger. They ask for a small favor, then bigger ones. Each boundary crossed becomes the new normal, and they express shock if you object. Seneca observed, "A hungry wolf is bound to wage an unnatural war against other wolves." The boundary bulldozer is insatiable. Meeting their demands doesn't satisfy them. It establishes that you can be pushed. The emergency specialist. Their needs always qualify as emergencies, requiring immediate response. They call late at night. They show up during your family time. They need you now. Your plans, your rest, your other commitments don't matter. And if you hesitate, you're selfish, unhelpful, or not a true friend. The Stoics understood that real emergencies are rare. Most situations can wait. The boundary bulldozer manufactures urgency to override your natural resistance to their intrusions. The selective deafness to no. This is their signature trait. They literally don't hear your no. You say you can't help this weekend, they show up anyway. You explain you need space, they text constantly. You set a limit, they acknowledge it, then immediately violate it. Your stated boundaries are to them merely opening positions in a negotiation. Epictetus insisted that we must be willing to be disliked by those who ignore our legitimate boundaries. The boundary bulldozer banks on your unwillingness to enforce consequences. The guilt and obligation factory. When you enforce a boundary, they pull out heavy artillery. After everything I've done for you, I can't believe you'd say no when I really need you. I guess I know where I stand with you. Family, friends don't treat each other this way. They're trying to redefine reasonable boundaries as moral failings. Don't accept this redefinition. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that other people's opinions, including their disapproval of your boundaries, don't control your worth or your decisions. The resource assumption. Your car is their car. Your money is available for their needs. Your home is their backup plan. Your time is their asset. They borrow without asking, use without replenishing, and take without reciprocating. If you object, you're being petty about material things, even though they're the ones treating your resources as disposable. The information extraction specialist. They ask intrusive questions, demand details about your private life, insist on knowing your finances, your relationship issues, your plans. When you deflect, they push harder or accuse you of secrecy. They believe they're entitled to your internal life as well as your external resources. Stoic defense systems. Establish explicit boundaries early. Don't hint. Don't hope they'll pick up on implicit cues. State clearly, I don't lend my car. I need 24 hours notice for visits. I keep my finances private. Clarity prevents the boundary bulldozer from claiming they didn't know. Enforce consequences without guilt. When they violate boundaries, enforce proportional consequences. If they show up unannounced, don't open the door. If they borrow without returning, don't lend again. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Boundary violation must cost the violator something, or it will continue. Refuse to justify your boundaries. The boundary bulldozer will demand explanations for your limits, then argue with every reason you provide. Remember Epictetus. First, decide who you would be. Then, do what you must do. Your boundaries don't require their approval. No is a complete sentence. Watch for the extinction burst. When you first start enforcing boundaries, the boundary bulldozer will escalate. More demands, more guilt, more emergencies. This is called an extinction burst. It's their final attempt to restore their access. Hold firm. If you give in during the extinction burst, you've taught them that increased pressure works. Accept the relationship cost. Some boundary bulldozers will leave your life when you enforce limits. Let them. A relationship that only functions when you have no boundaries isn't a relationship. It's exploitation with a friendly name attached. Type 5. The truth distorter. The gaslighter. The Stoic commitment to reality. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, Marcus Aurelius wrote. But what happens when someone systematically distorts your perception of what stands in the way? When they make you question reality itself? This is the truth distorter's specialty, and it's perhaps the most psychologically dangerous form of manipulation. The Stoics built their entire philosophy on clear perception of reality. The truth distorter attacks this foundation, making you doubt your own mind, memory, and perceptions. Epictetus insisted, first decide what you would be, and then do what you have to do. But the truth distorter makes you unable to decide anything, because you can no longer trust your own judgment about reality. Identifying the truth distorter, the memory manipulator. They tell you things didn't happen the way you remember. Conversations you recall clearly never occurred. You're confused. Promises they made were never made. You're mistaken. Hurtful things they said were jokes you misunderstood. You're too sensitive. Over time, you begin to doubt your own memory. This is intentional. When you can't trust your recollection of events, you become dependent on their version of reality. The reality reframe specialist. They have an extraordinary ability to reinterpret clear situations in ways that always favor them. They weren't ignoring you. They were giving you space. They weren't lying, they were protecting your feelings. They weren't cheating, you're paranoid and insecure. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact." The truth distorter exploits this philosophical reality by presenting their convenient interpretations as objective truth, the emotion invalidator. Your feelings are always wrong, irrational, or inappropriate in their eyes. If you're hurt, you're too sensitive. If you're angry, you're overreacting. If you're confused, you're making things complicated. They systematically teach you that your emotional responses to their behavior are the problem, not their behavior itself. The Stoics taught that our judgments about events create our emotions. The truth distorter weaponizes this insight, suggesting that your negative emotions prove your perceptions are distorted, not that their behavior is harmful. The evidence dismisser. Even when confronted with concrete proof of their dishonesty or harmful behavior, they have explanations. The evidence is misinterpreted. The context is different than it appears. You're twisting things. There's a perfectly innocent explanation. And somehow you find yourself in the position of trying to prove to them that your experience is real. The projection master. They accuse you of exactly what they're doing. If they're cheating, they accuse you of cheating. If they're lying, they call you dishonest. If they're manipulative, they claim you're controlling. This serves two purposes. It puts you on defense, and it creates confusion about who's actually doing what. Seneca noted, "A guilty conscience never feels secure." The truth distorter's accusations often reveal their own hidden behaviors. The sanity questioner. This is the ultimate move, suggesting you're mentally unstable, imagining things, or need professional help. They express concern about your mental state, share their worries about your instability with others, and suggest your perceptions can't be trusted because something is wrong with you. This is gaslighting in its purest form, attempting to make you doubt your sanity itself. Humby, Stoic restoration and protection. Document everything. Keep a journal, save messages, record dates and details. The truth distorter relies on your failing memory and self-doubt. Documentation grounds you in verifiable reality. As Marcus Aurelius practiced daily journaling to maintain clear self-perception, you must do the same to maintain clear reality perception. Trust your gut, even when confused. The Stoics believed in the importance of impressions, initial perceptions before judgment. If something feels wrong, trust that feeling, even if you can't fully articulate why. The truth distorter trains you to dismiss your intuition. Reclaim it. Seek external validation. Talk to trusted friends or a therapist about your experiences. The truth distorter isolates you and makes you dependent solely on their version of events. External perspectives help you reality test and recognize patterns you've been trained to dismiss. Remember, confusion is a red flag. Healthy relationships occasionally have misunderstandings, but if you're in a constant state of confusion about what happened, what was said, or what's real, that's not your failure to understand. It's evidence of manipulation. Epictetus taught, "Don't let the force of an impression when it first hits you knock you off your feet." The truth distorter tries to knock you off your feet constantly. Ground yourself in documented reality. Accept that you cannot make them see reality. This is perhaps the hardest truth. You cannot convince the truth distorter to acknowledge reality, because reality doesn't serve their interests. They know what they're doing. Trying to make them admit the truth is futile. As Marcus Aurelius accepted that some people would never understand virtue, you must accept that some people will never acknowledge truth. Exit as soon as possible. Of all the manipulative types, the truth distorter is the most dangerous to your psychological well-being. They don't just hurt you, they make you doubt your ability to perceive when you're being hurt. If possible, exit this relationship. If not immediately possible, begin planning your exit while protecting your sanity through documentation and external support. The Stoic path through a manipulative world. Integration of all 5 types. As we've explored these 5 manipulative personalities, you may have noticed overlapping traits. That's because deeply manipulative people often exhibit characteristics of multiple types. A charming predator might also be a truth distorter. A victim manipulator might also be a boundary bulldozer. The categories help us understand specific patterns, but real people are often complex combinations. What unites all 5 types is this: they view relationships as zero-sum games, where someone must win and someone must lose. They cannot conceive of genuine mutual benefit, authentic connection, or relationships based on respect rather than exploitation. The Stoics, in contrast, believe that virtue benefits everyone. Justice, courage, wisdom, and moderation create relationships where all parties flourish. The manipulative person has rejected this possibility, or perhaps never understood it existed. Your Stoic response system. 1. Acceptance without accommodation. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Accept the things to which fate binds you." This includes accepting that manipulative people exist, but acceptance doesn't mean accommodation. You can accept that scorpions sting while still avoiding them. You can accept that manipulative people manipulate while still protecting yourself. 2. Boundaries as virtue. Maintaining boundaries isn't selfishness, it's the practice of wisdom and justice. Wisdom requires recognizing reality, including the reality of others' harmful intentions. Justice requires treating everyone appropriately, which means not allowing manipulators to exploit you or others. 3. Detachment from outcome. The Stoics taught that we control our choices, not outcomes. You cannot control whether manipulative people change, whether they understand your perspective, or whether they approve of your boundaries. Release attachment to these outcomes. Control only your own responses. 4. Vigilance without paranoia. Awareness of manipulation patterns shouldn't make you suspicious of everyone. Most people are not systematically manipulative. They're imperfect, occasionally selfish, sometimes thoughtless, but not predatory. Reserve your strongest defenses for those who demonstrate consistent patterns of exploitation. 5. Self-examination. The Stoics insisted on continuous self-improvement. As you learn to recognize manipulation in others, examine your own behavior honestly. Do you sometimes manipulate, use guilt, ignore boundaries, distort truth? We all have capacity for these behaviors. Awareness of them in others should inspire vigilance about them in ourselves. The ultimate Stoic defense, your own character. Epictetus taught that the only true invulnerability comes from character. External circumstances and other people's behaviors are beyond your complete control. But your integrity, your values, and your commitment to virtue, these cannot be taken from you. The manipulative person has power only over externals, your time, money, reputation, comfort. They cannot touch your character unless you allow it. They cannot make you manipulative unless you choose it. They cannot destroy your integrity unless you surrender it. This is your fortress, unshakable commitment to living according to virtue, regardless of others' behavior. When someone manipulates, you respond with wisdom, not by being manipulated successfully, but by recognizing the manipulation and responding appropriately. When someone lies, you maintain your commitment to truth. When someone bulldozes boundaries, you hold firm to justice. A warning and an encouragement. The warning. Recognizing these patterns will change your life. You may see them in people you love. You may realize you've been manipulated for years. You may understand that relationships you valued were actually exploitations. This recognition will be painful. But as Seneca wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. Not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. The truth, however painful initially, sets you free. Free to choose better relationships, free to maintain boundaries, free to live authentically rather than as someone's resource to be exploited. The encouragement. You are not powerless. You have agency. You can learn. You can grow. You can protect yourself while maintaining your humanity. You can exit exploitative relationships. You can attract healthier people by becoming healthier yourself. Marcus Aurelius faced manipulative people daily, in the imperial court, in the Senate, among his own family. Yet he maintained his integrity, his kindness to those who deserved it, and his firm boundaries with those who didn't. If he could navigate the most political environment in the ancient world while remaining true to Stoic principles, you can navigate your own challenges. Final Stoic wisdom. Remember these truths as you move forward. You deserve relationships based on mutual respect. This isn't entitlement. It's recognition of basic human dignity that Stoicism insists belongs to everyone. Protecting yourself is not the same as harming others. Setting boundaries, ending exploitative relationships, and refusing manipulation don't make you cruel, they make you wise. Some people are beyond your help. This is hard to accept if you're compassionate, but the Stoics understood that some people choose paths you cannot alter. Let them go. Your peace matters. Stoicism emphasizes tranquility not as passive acceptance, but as active practice of wisdom. Removing manipulative people from your life isn't drama, it's peacemaking. Time is your most precious resource. As Seneca wrote extensively, we waste our lives on the wrong people while claiming we have no time for what matters. Don't spend your limited days being manipulated by those who cannot value you properly. In closing, return to Marcus Aurelius's morning reminder. Today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. But he didn't stop there. He continued, all this has happened to them through ignorance of good and evil. But I, who have seen that the nature of good is the beautiful, and the nature of evil the ugly, and that the nature of the offender himself is akin to my own, not of the same blood and seed, but partaking with me in mind and a portion of the divine, can neither be harmed by any of them, nor become angry with one who is akin to me, nor can I hate him. This is the Stoic balance. Recognize manipulation. Protect yourself firmly, but maintain your own humanity. Don't let their ugliness make you ugly. Don't let their manipulation make you cynical. Don't let their exploitation make you cruel. Be wise, be boundaried, be protected, but also be virtuous, be human, and be free. This is the Stoic truth about manipulative people, and about yourself. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius.